Hi, I'm Bud Palmer. Behind me is the Bay of Monte Carlo. It's a peaceful sight reflecting the tranquility of this quiet city. But for 1 week of each year for the past 19 years, this peace and quiet has been shattered by the roaring of racing cars entered in the Grand Prix of Monaco. It's about the only time the gamblers leave their tables to bet on men with such names as Hill, Bonnier, Jean de Bien, Trintignant, Von Trips, Moss, and Ginther. The Grand Prix of Monaco is the first of 9 Grand Prix races which count towards the World's Driving Championship, and I think it's a unique race. It's a wildly twisting course, 100 laps, 195 miles long. It's the only Grand Prix course which is laid out on the streets right in the heart of a city. And I feel it's a race which demands more from the driver than the car. And now here's a word of welcome from a former winner and marshal of the race, Louis Chiron.
Thank you, Albert. Welcome to the 19 Monaco Grand Prix. We expect 30,000 people. That is only race on the limit of the city. We have 22 best drivers in the world and 16 qualified for the first place. I drove this race and I won in 1931. I enjoy. I hope to enjoy you too. Thank you very much.
We'll continue with our sports spectacular after this message. We're taking a guided tour of some of the streets in Monaco. Not to see the sights, but to get an idea of the circuit that 16 of the world's greatest race drivers will use as their course. This is the Boulevard Albert Ier, running along the end of the harbor at Monaco. The cars corner sharply, switching back. Past the pits, into an uphill straight. Past the Avenue Princesse Alice. Flat out past the casino. Dipping down the short street at over 100 miles per hour. Turning sharply again. A downhill S-curve, past the railroad station at 50 miles per hour. Another turn, and onto the harbor leg at 120 miles per hour, down the Boulevard Louis II. This is the fastest part of the course. The cars will reach speeds of 160 miles per hour. And the most dangerous because of the tunnel ahead, where drivers have no leeway to maneuver in case of an accident or a pileup in the dark. Past this downhill straight, the cars race into the famous chicane, where a few years ago, Albert Ascari lost control and dropped into the harbor. Into the Quai des États-Unis in top gear. Most drivers feel that here they have the best chance to outmaneuver their competitors. This is where in 1957, Sterling Moss and the late Peter Collins, trying to pass each other, crashed into the seawall. We've just completed the 1.9-mile course. The drivers will run it 100 times. Speed trial. The streets have been closed to all traffic except the race cars. 3 days of trials will determine the starting lineup. Race Marshal Louis Chiron, working against time, has to control the individualists that make up the driving team. Object, to qualify. How? By turning in the fastest lap time. The driver and the mechanic agree that the car is ready. A full fuel tank will take the car through the 2.5-hour race. There's no time for pit stops or extensive repairs. A stop for any reason may lose the race. The only way the driver and the mechanic can test the condition of their machine is during these speed trials. Belgium's Olivier Gendebien in an Emeryson going out for a qualification lap. He's off. The railroad, drifting through the S-curve, and completing his circuit. Trintignant ready to go. He's a two-time winner, Monaco, and certainly a man to watch. After completing a lap, his official time is recorded. As each driver moves out, the others watch to evaluate the competition. Comparisons are measured in fractions of seconds. Part of the color of the race comes from the many nationalities driving here. Australia's young Bruce McLaren driving a British Cooper Climax. Another Australian and teammate of McLaren's is Jack Brabham, present world champion, who moved out for a speed trial. Tony Brooks of England with Gordon Wilkinson, chief engineer of BRM. Checking in for BRM is team driver Graham Hill of England.
And then we have Áudio 48 with the 60-degree engine to our end. Number 42, with the...
Competing against the factory teams is England's Sterling Moss. This is truly an international... And from Italy, the favorite, the Formula One Ferrari. The drivers, California's Phil Hill, Germany's Count Wolfgang von Trips, and young Richie Ginther from California. The speed trials continue. Each driver tries to improve his lap time to assure himself a place in the starting grid. There are 13 turns in the circuit, 90 gear shifts per lap, 9,000 in the 2.5 hour race. They travel at speeds that range from 160 miles an hour down to 20 miles per hour. The tension lessens. The drivers have finished their time trials and the decisions are no longer up to them.
So 5 others qualified to make up the 16. The starting grid in full, starting from the slowest on the back of the grid, is as follows. At the back, number 24, world champion Jack Brabham with his Cooper. He only did one brief practice period and then flew back to continue his qualification trials for Indianapolis. Next up, number 42, Maurice Plantignon, Cooper. 32, Cliff Harrison, Lotus. Number 8, Michael May with another Lotus. And then number 6, Hans Hermann, Porsche. Number 22, John Surtees with the Yeoman Credit Cooper. Number 4, Dan Gurney's Porsche. Number 2, Joachim Bonnier from Sweden with his Porsche. And then number 16, Tony Brooks, BRM, on the outside of the third row. Next to him, number 26, Bruce McLaren with the Works Cooper. Number 40, Wolfgang von Trips with the Ferrari. Second row, number 38, Phil Hill's Ferrari. And number 18, Graham Hill with the BRM. And then on the outside of the front row, number 28, young Jim Clark with the Lotus. In the center of the front row, the young American, number 36, Richie Ginter with the latest Formula One Ferrari. And in pole position, once again, after a brilliant lap in 1 minute 39.1 seconds, Sterling Moss himself with Rob Walker's Lotus. And that is the starting order for the Grand Prix de Monaco.
We'll continue with our show, but first, this important message. This is a Formula One racing car. This year, the Formula Ones were changed from an engine displacement of 2,500 to 1,500 cc's, which is about 1/2 smaller than the average American compact engine. This was done in order to reduce speeds, promote safety, and to induce manufacturers to sponsor teams by lowering costs. There's a great deal of controversy regarding this change. Many of drivers object. For instance, Maston Gregory.
We're afraid this year that we might have a little trouble. More drivers will be able to drive these slower cars, and they'll be able to drive them faster. They won't be able to do it consistently, but they'll be able to do it for a time. And it's going to look like there'll be more competition, where actually I think the caliber of driving is not going to be quite so good. It's going to be easier to drive these cars, and some fellows are going to think that they can go a little bit faster than maybe they should. Anyway, I don't like it. I'd like horsepower.
Where do you feel the greatest competition lies?
Oh, I'd say the Ferrari definitely. In this race would be Phil Hill, Von Trips, Richie Ginther, all 3 of them. They're going to give us a lot of trouble. They have a lot of horsepower with the new car, and the chassis works very well.
This is the Ferrari team. At the end of the speed trials, the team held a critique. They discussed their own failings and advantages. And more important, they discussed the techniques and the cars of their opponents. Out of these talks, a strategy is developed, one that will see them through the race. The Ferrari is the favored car in this race, and with good reason. They have probably won more Grand Prix races than any other car in the world.
1:41:9, credo che sarà in questa linea, quindi in seconda linea esattamente, perché qui va molto bene, e la macchina.
I asked driver Phil Hill what his team talked about.
Well, in general, about all we've talked about is how the other cars have gone in relation to our cars. And also, we've talked about what we think our own capabilities are. And we've had a few suggestions from the team manager as to what speeds we ought to try to do. Also, we talked about a few ailments that each one of our cars individually had. Tripp's car had one fault, mine had a few other things that were wrong with it, and well, all of them needed a few little things, and what we've done is tried to talk over all these things and try to ascertain what speed we might be able to go during the race, and that was about it.
English car.
This is the Porsche. Porsche has a long history in the manufacture of rear-engine sports cars. But this model is their very first attempt at a Formula One racing car.
Racing is right ahead of us right now, technically. That might be what we're trying to do. We try to catch them. I think the British cars are behind us.
The cars experienced some problems during the trial runs, and a great deal of interest centers about its performance during the race tomorrow. I asked Joachim Bonnier to tell us a little bit about the car.
Well, we've been discussing before the Grand Prix of Monaco, which is due to be held tomorrow, what we found out after practice today with our Porsches. We got a few new things on the cars, particularly the engine, and also the front suspension is brand new. The engine is now fuel injection, and it's been working very well indeed, much better than we hoped for. With the suspension, we had a bit of trouble today. We had shock absorbers a bit too loose, juddering, but we hope to put it right for the race tomorrow. Also, for the future, we hope to be up with the Ferraris. That is engine-wise, they're definitely ahead of us right now. And chassis-wise, the English might be ahead of everybody. Obviously, they don't have the engines that the Ferraris have, and I think also our engine right now is slightly ahead of theirs. But very shortly, I hope we'll be able to beat them in the Grand Prix circuit.
Monaco has seen 18 Grand Prix races. This will be the 19th. A tradition of pomp and ceremony begins the day. The arrival of the mayor of Monaco means that the race is about ready to begin. There's a sense of anticipation in the crowd in these last few minutes before the race. Last-minute adjustments are made. The expected tensions of the drivers are hidden underneath a much too obvious calm. Last-minute check of the equipment. A last-minute look at the cars. Regulations create order out of confusion.
Un minuto e non parla, e la macchina non parla. Nessuno non deve partire, è lui che deve partire. Nessuno non deve partire. Che si può spingere dopo. No!
Drivers, will you please meet in front of Monsieur Chiron, the director of the race. Drivers, please come up. Monsieur le conducteurs, venez joindre. Monsieur Chiron,
Vamos, let's get this race going.
The drivers are called together for a last-minute briefing.
Pour la première fois dans les annales des courses automobiles, c'est un ancien débat que cette délicate tâche est confiée. Je vais m'employer de mon mieux. Je compte sur vous. Je compte sur vous. Ensuite,
They are reminded what the different flags mean. They are warned about which corners have been made more dangerous by oil and rubber slicks laid down during the practice run. They are told again about the international rules and regulations governing the event.
je vous demande de respecter les signaux qui vous sont faits et de montrer votre sportivité. Vous savez que toute voiture rejointe doit céder la place.
From the moment the drivers step into their cars, they leave behind their mechanics, their managers, their well-wishers. They have only themselves to rely on now. Themselves and the car.
Moving up to number 42, Maurice Trantignon, with the Serenissima Cooper Maserati, one of the old leaf spring Coopers with a new four-cylinder Maserati engine. Number 32, Cliff Allison, with the...
Each man knows the other, and yet the race is a lonely thing, an exciting thing, a purely personal thing, unexplainable to anyone except the man in the cockpit.
Unfortunately, Jimmy Clark had a wrangle with his car after doing a tremendous lap in the first practice session, and tremendous efforts have been going on in the Lotus garage to rebuild it. They really have done a tremendous job, and there's no question about some of the things and the infrastructure of that car. And decided not to bring it out today, but to concentrate on getting it really ready so that it doesn't start with the real race of the car. And in this hour, a similar car, they both have to be ready. And then the two teammates
Countdown starts. The flag drops. They're off, jockeying for position in the first 100 yards. At the first turn, Ginther in number 36 has the lead. The field springs out as they head towards the casino. Station turn is Ginther, Moss, Bonnier, Herman, Graham Hill, McLaren, and Phil Hill. Harbor leg, they're doing about 150 miles per hour. At the end of the first lap, Ginther is leading Moss by 5 seconds. Bonnier third, Herman fourth. Each lap is being driven as though it was the last one of the race. There's no let-up in concentration and hope. Ginther has a lead of 6 seconds now. Smaller engines of this year's car has not slowed the pace. Laps are being made in 1 minute and 37 seconds, faster than any previous year. We'll be back in a moment after this brief pause. Spectators crowd windows of apartments, balconies of restaurants for vantage points to watch the flying cars. Former heavyweight champion Ingemar Johansson on the left is a real fan. The road is sanded to soak up oil lost from cars. Hans Hermann's Porsche drifts around the station corner. Ginther, 36, Moss, 20. And Ginther still holds off Moss as they go through the harbor chicane. Less than 5 seconds separate the leaders. Ginther, Moss, Bonnier. Full pull out, Moss keeps pressing Ginther. Passing the starting grid, it's still Ginther, Moss, and Bonnier's Porsche. Moss pushes, trying to force Ginther into an error. On the 14th lap, Moss makes his move. He passes Ginther as they start towards the casino. Moss, number 20, takes the lead. Moss, lying by the waterfront. The new order. First, Moss, number 20. Now second, Bonnier, number 2. And Ginther, number 36, drops to third. Mechanical trouble for Graham Hill. World champion Jack Brabham, number 24, in the pit. Whatever his trouble was, Graham Hill is out, and he's just a stoic spectator. There goes leader Moss. Phil Hill is now second, having passed Ginther and Bonnier. Jack Brabham and his Cooper leave the pit. Here come the leaders, Moss, Hill, and Ginther. But where is Bonnier's Porsche? Jacques Bonnier's Porsche is finished. Bonnier runs back to the pit. He's unable to fix his car. There's a disappointed driver. It's a three-car race now. Moss in the Lotus, followed by Hill and Ginther in Ferrari. Michael May's Lotus begins to smoke. Probably a ruptured oil line. John Surtees of England is out of the race. Michael Mays has to drop out, leaving 12 in the race. Jim Clark, number 28, signals that he's pulling in. Hill and Ginther in Ferraris running nose to tail chase after Moss. Ginther seems to have the faster car. It appears he could pass Hill. Savoni, Ferrari team manager, worries about how to catch Moss. A decision must be made. Signals are given to the Ferraris on the 73rd lap. The order for Ginther to pass Hill and catch Moss. Ginther passes Hill according to signal and moves into second place. Ginther, trying to catch Moss, does a lap at 72 miles per hour. Incredible on this twisting course. Ginther has closed to within 3.5 seconds of Moss. The new tactics might pay off. Crowd wonders if Moss can hold his first place position in a year-old car against the very latest Ferrari. Ginther, driving on the edge, slams to within 3 seconds of Moss. Starting the last lap, the position still holds. Moss. Ginther matching Moss's record lap time, but still behind. It's Sterling Moss, first man to win the Grand Prix of Monaco 3 times. Second across the line is Richie Ginther. The car still looks fresh. The driver shows obvious signs of strain, heat, and hard work. The 195-mile race was driven at an average speed of 70 miles per hour, the fastest ever for Monte Carlo. Richie Ginther's second place showed that the young Californian can hold his own with the world's best.
I couldn't go any faster than I was going, and they tried to make me go. Richie was sitting behind me for hours. He could go much faster than I could. I kept waving for him to make him go by. No, they wouldn't let him go by. So finally, when he went by, he went away like a rocket.
He was right after most of it, but he didn't get it.
Sterling Moss receives his prize, the Gold Cup for the 19th Grand Prix from Prince Pierre of Monaco. Sterling Moss has one more lap to make. A victory drive around the circuit to take the cheers of the crowds for a victory won by 3 seconds and 15 years of racing experience. We'll meet Sterling Moss in just a moment. Congratulations, Sterling. Did the race go pretty much as you expected?
Not quite. My intention was, if I got the lead at the first corner, I would have, on the second lap, not the first lap, I would have gone really fast. The reason for that is that on the first lap, you quite often get people with their oil tank a little too full, or blowing some oil out of the breathers. So the first time that you come round, well, it's really the second time you come round, is quite likely to be a dangerous time. So I would always slow the pace if I could for that lap. Then, if I'd been in the lead, I would have then gone flat out for 2 or 3 laps just to see if I could break away from the pack. If I could have broken away from the pack, then I would have done so, and pulled out if I could have 10 or 20-second lead. On the other hand, if I hadn't managed to pull away from the pack and I still had Richie Ginther or somebody sitting on my tail, I would have then slowed up and given him the lead for a certain amount of laps until I'd seen where I might be able to pass him and pull away. You see, the thing is, it's very much easier to follow a man, to chase, than be the one that's being chased. And if a man is following you really closely, I mean literally a couple of yards behind, he's learning an awful lot of your technique. Not necessarily for getting greater speed, but where he might be able to pass you. And if you'd have a particularly unusual line round the corner, which you may have found because of a bump or because of oil or something, you immediately show it to him. And therefore, unless you can break away from the pack, it's not a good thing in a race, I don't think, of 100 laps. They're leading it for 99 of them, and then have the bloke just pull out and pass you on the last one. I was rather forced into the position I was in yesterday because I was laying third, and then something happened to the man who was second, and which was Jim Clark, so I then moved to second, but I had to go faster because Joe Bonnier was coming up in third position. Well, actually, I was pretty worried because last year here, or 1 year anyway, I was 10 laps from the end when everything was going very nicely, and I had a minute, the thing broke. So until I saw that checkered flag, I wasn't sure, but particularly with the Ferraris right on my tail. You know, until I saw the checkered flag, well, I wasn't so sure. They got within about 2.8 seconds, which is pretty close. And they kept giving me the signal, and as far as I could see, it seemed to be a different chap each time. You know, one signal I'd get, it was Phil Hill, and then a couple of laps later, it was Ginther. Still, you know, same sort of distance, maybe 4 seconds, 5, 3. One seemed to have a go, and then the other one, you know. I was driving flat out from approximately the third lap till the 100th lap. I don't know how much quicker I could have gone, but very, very little. I was really right on the limit.
Is winning the race a matter of the car being as good as the driver? After Ginther dropped back, he'll remain 4 or 5 seconds behind you. Is that a case of equal drivers racing equal cars? Because the space between you remains so constant.
Well, it is, in racing, it's difficult for people to understand, but 1/10 of a second, if you're right on the limit, is very difficult to find. And if you were taking the times yesterday, you'd find that Richie would pull maybe a tenth. They'd give me a signal that I was 4.8 ahead. And then I'd go like anything, and then I might pull it to 4.9. And then obviously he'd just get something just right, and it'd go back to 4.8. Very rarely did it vary more than that, except when one or the other of us had to lap a slower car. And that, of course, did drop it back half a second, or maybe even a second, if the car got in the way, even just for a fraction on the road. If it meant you had to back off instead of being full bore in some particular point, you can drop a second like that. But when the road is clear and you're right on form, a 1/10 of a second is quite difficult to find.
Well, the Grand Prix of Monaco is now history. Peace and quiet have returned to Monte Carlo. The cars and drivers have moved on. This was the 3rd Grand Prix of Monaco victory for Stirling Moss, but he has yet to win the world's driving title. Some people say that he's too hard on cars and that a short course like this one was made to order for him. I don't know, but I do know that after the Grand Prix of Monaco victory, Stirling Moss is the man to beat. I'm Bud Palmer saying so long.
Common courtesy requires that a speaker begin by saying how...
David Schonbrun is addressing the founding meeting in San Francisco of Business Executives Move Against the War in Vietnam. Mr. Schonbrun, journalist, historian, has been an eyewitness to the history of Vietnam since the days when Ho Chi Minh was an ally of the United States in World War II. He was the only American correspondent to witness the defeat of France by the Vietnamese at Dien Bien Phu, and was also present at the Geneva Conference in 1954. He has most recently returned from a trip to Hanoi at the invitation of Ho Chi Minh. Mr. Schonbrun spent 15 years as Paris correspondent for CBS and subsequently became chief of the CBS Washington Bureau. He is presently teaching the first course ever offered on Vietnam at Columbia University's Graduate School in New York City.
When I say, therefore, that I'm pleased to be in San Francisco, I really mean it. It's a great pleasure. It may also be the last pleasurable thing that I say to you today, for there's nothing pleasurable in discussing Vietnam. I'd like to address myself with you to questions that all Americans